Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel for another interesting beer review and another beer style that I haven't reviewed before on the channel. Um, I do this because I want to show that I'm open about different traditional German beer styles. And this time I have a Doppelbock, and a very famous Doppelbock. I think it's one of the biggest and most famous German Doppelbocks. And to be honest, I haven't been drinking a beer from this beer style before. I've been having some others from this brewery, but I've never been having a Doppelbock before. And this one is something that I'm really excited about. It's the Doppelbock called Celebrator from Ayinger, the Privatbrauerei Aying from the small town of Aying in Bavaria, of course. It's a family-owned brewery. It's a very appreciated brewery, and yeah, this is the first beer from this brewery on the channel. I thought it could be a good thing to start with doing a beer from a style that I haven't done before. Yeah, just to make it easier for people to find the channel here in the beginning, that I'm having different beer styles and not only one beer style. As you can see, it's a small bottle. Usually I prefer big bottles, but this beer only comes in a small 0.33 liter bottle. I think it might be because of the high ABV volume. As I've said before, I prefer the big 0.5 liter bottles. They look better when the beer is possible to get in a big bottle, but this one, as I said, is only being bottled in this size, which is quite understandable. I also want to say that the labels of Doppelbock beers are often very different comparing to the other beers from a brewery. For example, in this case, it's a good example. You see the artwork on the label with the two box is very different comparing to all the other beers from Ayinger. I have been having some other beers from Ayinger, and they all have the same label artwork except of the Doppelbock, and that's the case in other breweries as well. It's a traditional German beer style. It usually, when I found out about the beer style and heard that it was called a Doppelbock, I thought that, okay, it's something like the Belgian beer styles triple and quadruple, but that's definitely not, the Doppelbock doesn't have to do with those Belgian beer styles at all. I thought that there was a connection just because Doppel means 2, triple means 3, quadruple means 4, and I thought it was just different versions of kind of the same basic beer, but that's definitely not the case. Doppelbock is a German beer style, triple and quadruple is Belgian beer styles that are completely different. I'm gonna review Belgian beers also later on the channel, so stay tuned for that. Yeah, regarding this beer, there's a lot of things to say about this, both the beer style, the brewery, and this specific beer, how it tastes. So I'm really excited about that, and I'm gonna talk for quite a while in the beginning, so be prepared for that. I'm gonna start about speaking about the history of the not the history of the brewer, but the beer style, because it's a new beer style for the channel, and that's why I want to introduce you to what the beer style is. The German beer style Doppelbock is a stronger version of the regular Bockbier and can have an alcohol content of 7 up to 10% ABV. By tradition, the newly brewed beer always starts to be sold on March 19 every year. This is in honor to the patron saint who watched over the Paulano monks, who are said to be the first to brew an early variant of this lager-style beer. A Doppelbock has a mild and full flavor with some sweetness. Common aromas are freshly baked crisp bread, fruit loaf, knack, and syrup. The color is often yellowish brown to dark brown. The bitterness is between distinct and obvious, but the major hops aroma in the fragrance or taste is usually not exist. At the end of the 18th century, at the Neudock of der Au monastery in Munich, a liquid bread was brewed to more easily cope with the fasting period. It was considered not only useful and satisfying, but also that the liquid purified and cleaned the body and soul. Thus, most of the grain went to beer brewing rather than flour and bread. The monks named the beer Salvator, which is Latin for Savior. Whether they were referring to Jesus the Savior, or whether the beer was saving the monks from the endurance with the fasting period, isn't something that the story tells. Today, many Doppelbocks are named into something that ends with Eitor, just to honor the first Doppelbock. This beer, like all other lagers, is of cold yeast. This means, among other things, that the fermentation takes place at a relatively low temperature, 5 to 10 degrees Celsius. Bockbier is available in several varieties, but all originate from one dark malt brew in the city of Einbach in central Germany. In the Bavarian dialect, Einbach was pronounced Einbock, and that's where the name of the beer comes from. In many parts of the world, Bock beer is a stronger lager. Doppelbock is a stronger version of the regular Bock beer and can have an alcohol content of 7 to over 10%. A Doppelbock is often full-bodied and has a certain sweetness. That's a little bit about the beer style, which is very, very interesting, as you understand. I'm gonna continue with talking a little bit more about the beer style before going over to the brewery, and last I'm gonna talk about the specific beer Celebrator. The tradition of giving a Doppelbock a name that ends in Eitor derives from the Paulano brewery, which calls its Doppelbock Salvator, which in Latin means savior. Many other breweries produced similar beers and called them Salvators, as if this was a type designation. However, the Paulano brewery did put an end of this in 1894, when they protected the name as a registered trademark. Since then, the type has to become called Doppelbock because it is similar to regular Bock beer, but is brewed on twice as much fermentable raw materials and thus produces a much stronger beer. Ayinger Celebrator is a prime example of the type. The freshly grainy aroma and the rich malt flavor are balanced by a strong hops presence that gives the beer a dry bitterness at the end. Ayinger produces also a rich, dark lager of 2 Bavarian types, 2 Weissbiers, as well as a variety of other types. The brewery was established in 1877. Production first started on a small scale, but increased rapidly, and when the railway link from Munich to Aying was built, it opened for more and more tourists that came to the city and enjoyed the beer. Many spent the night at the Brauerei Gasthof, the brewery's own inn. That was some more information about the beer style and a little bit about the history of the brewery Aying also, which is very interesting. I'm not finished with speaking about the brewery. I'm gonna continue with that a little bit, so I hope you find it interesting. The family-owned brewery Ayinger was founded in 1878 and is today a medium-sized brewery. It is located, just as the name reveals, in Ayinger, a small town 25 kilometers outside Munich. In 1999, Ayinger inaugurated their newly built brewery that allowed them to remain competitive against the larger breweries. Ayinger, whose export amounts to about 10% of the volume produced, is an exemplary model for how modernity and tradition can be secured in the direction of the environment and commitment. The focus of Ayinger is creativity, quality, regional focus, and innovation. They have succeeded in their concept, judging by their many awards. Among other things, they have won several golds at big beer fairs in Europe. The water is extracted from their own deep well, and both the malt and the hops are grown in their own garden. By using only the best possible raw materials, Ayinger achieves a quality that stands out among the large amount of German breweries. Ayinger has repeatedly been voted Germany's best brewery on ratebeer.com. They brew 14 million liters of beer every year. Might sound much, but the bigger German ones brew 200 million liters every year. Now, finally, I'm gonna speak about this specific beer, the Celebrator from Ayinger. A little bit more about this specific beer because it's such a special beer. Celebrator has a light creamy foam with small bubbles that contrast beautifully with the deep dark color of the beer itself. It has a full and soft taste from the half year of aging, and although it's strong, it is not overwhelming. It has a wonderful and complex balance between different malt varieties, the alcohol and the subtle hops taste. A complex fruitiness, roasted malt and whole hops makes Celebrator easy to appreciate. Despite its full flavor, it has a slightly smoky dryness in the aftertaste. The taste is described as nuanced, malt flavor with sweetness, hints of wort bread, dried fruit, orange, brown sugar, carnation, and ginger. The aromas are described as nuanced malt scent with hints of wort bread, dried fruit, bitter orange, brown sugar, cinnamon, and ginger. That was a lot of speaking because it's such a special beer style, brewery, and beer. It is one of the best Doppelbocks, according to many others' opinions. Classical looking label, I've been showing it to you already, but here it is. The back label is looking like this. Typical Ayinger back label. Privatbrauerei seit 1878. Celebrator Bayerisch Beer. Gebraut nach dem bayerischen Reinheitsgebot. Zutaten: Wasser, Gerstenmalz, Hopfen. 6.7 ABV, which is typical for a Doppelbock. Yeah, it's just gonna be really interesting to try this one. So let's open it up and pour it up. There we have the Ayinger Doppelbock. Very dark, as you can see, dark brown. Kind of pale brown head on it. Not the biggest head, since it's a Doppelbock, but let's get the aromas. Yeah, feels really great. Really feel the smell, the fragrance of syrup and dark roasted malt. Really interesting. I just have to try this one. So, Prost. yeah, this one is a great doppelbock. It's a special beer. It's high quality. It's an amazing craftsmanship behind it. It's I don't feel the alcohol volume as big as it is, but yeah, it isn't so obvious. But it's a great dark doppelbier. This one feel definitely dark bread taste of it, and let's give it another try. Yeah, easy to feel the dark ingredients, dark roasted malt, dark syrup, dark bread. That's something that I definitely feel in the aftertaste. A little bit of dark coffee taste also. This one is a really great doppelbock. I think it's an amazing brewery also. You should trust this brewery. I understand why it has been voted to Germany's best brewery. So this one is a big recommendation if you want to try a doppelbock. Yeah, it's a great doppelbock. I don't feel disappointed at all that I tried this one. It's a great doppelbock, and a very interesting beer style too. Yeah, not maybe possible to drink very much of it, but it's really great. Yeah, that's it. The Ayinger Celebrator, what a beer this is. For me, it's a big recommendation. Try it, and I think you're gonna like it. It's a real fantastic one. The label also is just so good with the two bucks and great artwork. So from me, big thumbs up, recommendation, and I hope you like my reviews. I hope you stay tuned because there's a lot of interesting beers that will be coming up. So see you in the next video.